The Corporation of the Village of Marrickville-Wolford, agenda for council on Monday, November the 23rd, 2020 at 7 p.m. Before I do the formal calling to order, I just want to bring a couple of things to council's attention. That the annual Sally Ann Christmas Kettle campaign in Marrickville will be on December the 5th. And as council members have previously said to the folks of Sally Ann, we'll man the kettle on that day. So thank you, members, for stepping forward and helping Sally Ann do that on December the 5th. And if you have questions, you can ask me after the meeting.
I just want to know, is it in conjunction with anything else going on?
Pardon me?
Is it in conjunction with anything else going on?
There may be other things happening that day, yes, but that's not on our agenda tonight specifically.
Oh, I'm just curious because usually
I've heard there may be Build the Mountain campaign happening that day, but I don't know the timing on that. I haven't received anything formally on that, so if I do, certainly I'll let. I would hope it would be advertised, if you will, for people to contribute. It's a significant time of year for the Build the Mountain campaign, as it is for our own local food bank. Actually, on that note, I don't know the exact date yet, but I know the CP holiday train, Christmas train as we like to call it, is doing something virtual this year. And it would be nice if people like a date to contribute. People are generous all year round, we know, but if there was a particular date, people and a way to contribute money and or food, as typically would happen when they do stop here in Marrickville, that would be greatly appreciated. Certainly fits in well also with the Lions Club Christmas Hamper, which is a great program for in excess of 50, 60 families in our municipality. The other thing I wanted to bring to council's attention, as you members will recall, there was the Leeds Granville Economic Summit was held last Friday, and one of the items, it's an annual item, is the awarding of the Bill Fake Memorial Economic Development Leadership Award. And we had a nominee, Janet Campbell, Mrs. McGarrigles, and there were two other nominees this year from other parts of Leeds and Grenville. One was from North Grenville, the other from the township of Leeds and 1,000 Islands. And I'm not sure if it's the first time ever, but there were two winners of the Bill Fake Award, and a very nice lady from Leeds and 1,000 Islands, Wendy Merkley, and the other recipient from the village of Marrickville-Wolford, our very own Janet Campbell, Mrs. McGarrigles. So we're very proud of everything that she does, for not just as a business, but throughout the community. And my understanding is there'll be a lot more information will be done by the county and the Economic Development Office that promoted that program. An interesting part on that is in some of the research that was done in terms of the Janet's nomination was that back in, I believe, 2016, Mrs. McGarrigles, founder Janet Campbell, earns Lifetime Achievement Award, and that's the International Women's Day event hosted by the Leeds and Grenville Small Business Enterprise Center. And it was that event that Janet received that award as well. So certainly well known in our community and broadly speaking around the world. So congratulations to Janet. So I will call the meeting to order, and I'll ask members if anyone has a pecuniary interest, and there's none noted. Thank you, gentlemen. I would ask members if you would entertain an addition to the agenda, and I did pass around a slide deck that was presented to a county council meeting last week, and it's Bill 229. It's the reason I'm asking you to put it on the agenda. It is a time-sensitive piece of legislation, and it's an important subject, and I want to bring it formally to council's agenda attention. So if I could, if there is agreement, I'll add that to the agenda, and we'll do it just after the approval of the minutes. And I do believe I have a motion. Thank you. A mover and a seconder for the agenda. Thank you, Mr. Foster. And a seconder would be Mr. Helpley. Thank you. Be it hereby resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Village of Margaret Wolford does hereby approve the agenda of the regular council meeting of November the 23rd, 2020 as amended. All in favor? And it's carried. And it's the first, we have three sets of minutes this evening. So the first set of minutes is regarding our council meeting on November the 9th. So if I have a mover and a seconder for that, please. Thank you, Mr. Malloy is the mover, Mr. Foster is the seconder. Be it hereby resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Village of Margaret Wolford does hereby approve the minutes of the regular council meeting of November the 9th, 2020 as circulated. Are there any errors and or omissions?
No.
None noted. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cameron. And the next set of minutes is the special council meeting on the 17th, the one that was held at 6 p.m. So if I could have a mover and a seconder for those minutes, please. Thank you, Mr. Malloy, and seconded by Mr. Foster. Be it hereby resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Village of Margaret Wolford does hereby approve the minutes of the special council meeting of November the 17th, 2020 at 6 p.m. as circulated. Are there any errors and omissions? None noted. All in favor? And it's carried. Thank you. And lastly is the special minutes for the special meeting at 7:30 p.m. on the same date, the 17th. Mover and a seconder for those minutes, please. Thank you, Mr. Cameron, seconded by Mr. Helpley. Be it hereby resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Village of Margaret Wolford does hereby approve the minutes of the special council meeting of November the 17th, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. as circulated. Any errors and omissions? None noted. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And next we are now down to the addition to the agenda, which is regarding Bill 229. And if you look at the slide deck that was provided by the conservation authorities to the counties, the reason it is time sensitive is that the bill has received first reading on November the 5th, second reading on the 17th, and the potential is it could receive third and final reading in the next few weeks. The bill is under what is called Section 6, which means that it's a financial bill and does not garner any public consultation. And as you can see in the slide deck, there's some significant proposed changes under governance and programs. Some in substance, it's affecting. Well, we're not sure what the ultimate framework will be. The regulations would come later, which typically there would be consultation on, but the significant changes are under the framework, if you will. And the high-level observation is it's uploading authority from municipalities, conservation authority, to the province, and not doing any uploading on the costs. So, as you can see in the motion passed by the counties, that staff are directed to contact the Honourable Rod Phillips, Minister of Finance, Honourable Steve Clark, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and the Honourable Jeff Urich, Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks, to have Schedule 6 removed from Bill 229 to allow for consultation with municipalities who are directly affected by the work of conservation authorities. So, some in substance, it's the action is to have it removed so there can be that consultation. And I wanted to bring that to members' attention because, as I say, this is time sensitive. It's happening rather quickly. As they indicated, the legislation has received second reading on November the 17th. And, depending on the response, and hopefully we'll get a favorable response from the province so that consultation process can take place. I'm not sure if there are any questions, but certainly from an information point of view, that's all that's required for members. And do we have a motion for that, actually?
No, we don't, Your Worship, because it was, excuse me. I apologize, Your Worship. No, we don't, because it was added.
That's okay. It's for council members' information. Okay. Great. Thank you. And we'll move on to correspondence. And we do have correspondence dated November the 16th from Graham Bonham Carter. So a mover and a seconder to receive that information. Thank you, Mr. Cameron. And a seconder would be, thank you, Mr. Malloy. Be it hereby resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Village of Merrifield-Wolford does hereby receive correspondence from Graham Bonham Carter regarding paving H.F. McLean Road dated November the 16th, 2020 for information purposes. While it is information purposes, my suggestion to members would be that, first of all, we're not doing delegations at the moment, but it would be appreciated if we did direct staff to indicate to Mr. Bonham Carter that send in the slide deck presentation that they seem to have, and we can take that under advisement and when we go through our budget process. Mr. Malloy and then Mr. Cameron, and then Mr. Halpy has a question. Yeah, Mr. Malloy.
Well, Mr. Cole's here right now. Sorry, Brett, do you have any idea?
Mr. Malloy, would you use your mic, please?
Oh, sorry.
And only about 6 inches away should work this evening. They've adjusted the volume on it.
Can I sing a song now?
Give it a go.
Brad, do you have any idea what the cost of that piece of work would be?
We just have a very rough estimate that
That's
was
good.
provided actually by Mrs. Bonham Carter, so we would have to look into it a little further and get a better estimate. So to answer your question, no, I don't have an exact costing at this time.
How about a ballpark?
I wouldn't feel comfortable to give a ballpark yet without doing a bit more of a road assessment on it with ditching, and then we probably have to raise the road a bit first, so I'd want to get a little better calculations before I took a guess.
But it could be substantial.
Could be.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Cameron.
Yes, thank you. This item has been before council a few times. It's been a part of the 2014 asset management study conducted by the municipality, and it was identified for 2018 for the road to be done. In our January 30th, 2019 council meeting, our CBO put a report in about the road, and his cost estimate was at $121,000. Mr. Bonham Carter has given us two correspondence over the past few months on this. It always seems to come for an information package, but I was wondering, when are we going to move that into an action item for council to consider? Given the fact that Phase 3 has been sold and built out, and we've redirected traffic from the east side of the village to the west side. St. Lawrence and Reed Street are now the major thoroughfares for any truck traffic going through, and H.F. McLean is the contact point at which all these vehicles are contacting Merrickville Estates. So the importance of paving that road and moving it up on the agenda, I think, is an item that we need to take more seriously, and it should be we should have a well-structured idea of the cost, considering we've done a full scope on it with our CBO in January 30th. I have the minutes here from the meeting, and the costs are all outlaid with Randy had done. It was approximately $121,000. I think it's time for this item to be removed as an information item constantly and moved into a more serious category of consideration for council to get this road up to its standard that is needed in order for the increased traffic that we directed ourselves by passing bylaw as stated before, redirecting all the truck traffic. We have numerous amount of roads that are requiring some form of reconstruction, whether that's re-graveling, re-tar and chip, or repaving. The 2014 numbers come in slightly over. I have the numbers here for a second here. The numbers are from 2014 to 2018 presently is $9,521,900. I realize that all this work doesn't need to be completed. Some of the roads may outlive their expectancy, but we also have a bunch of roads coming in for 2023, which total $2,745,950. So we're looking at around $12 million of roads. So I think it's important that we start tackling these roads one at a time and accomplishing an upgrade as we move forward. These items should be identified and become a priority on our upcoming budgets. Thank you.
Mr. Helpney, you had a question? Oh, sorry. Mr. Cameron, your mic is still on.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Foster, you had a question?
Well, have we utilized Public Works to determine a needs-based approach to resurfacing roads? And I recognize that the people in Maricopa Estates would love to have access from 2 paved roads. I'm sure there's people in Wolford that would appreciate having access from 1 paved road.
Mm-hmm.
So really, this is a priority matter for council to determine who needs the roads, and we'll base that on information from Public Works.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry, Mr. Malloy, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just like to support Councillor Foster on his comments. I think I look at that road and it's a well-constructed gravel road. There's tons of gravel roads in the Wolford section of our municipality, and it's as good as, if not better than most of them. So I'm not sure about why we would be investigating the paving of that road for the, I forget what he said, 66 houses or 66 families, whatever the number is. Yeah, so I agree with Councillor Foster.
Yeah, thank you. If members concur, we would direct staff to ask Mr. Bonham Carter to send forward or provide us with, I think I saw somewhere they do have a, they would prepare a PowerPoint presentation. They could send that in. We'll certainly take it, in consideration when we go through our budget process. And I think that's the important part, is that we do have a budget process when we look at the, not just the dollars available, but as Mr. Cameron indicated, staff identify the needs. What's the expression? What's critical? You maintain the good, replace the bad. But we do need to keep in mind, as our auditor has said to us, we do need to be mindful of rebuilding our capital reserve. So we have to be prudent in terms of the capital projects that we take on, and all of that takes place in our budget process. So if members are in agreement, we'll ask staff to let Mr. Bonham Carter know that if they have a PowerPoint presentation, send it in, and we'll take it into consideration with the many other things that are on the list of responsibilities we have, not just in roads, but the other parts of our municipal infrastructure. So just a show of hands for that direction to staff would be great. Okay, thank you, members. The motion was to receive the correspondence for information purposes, so Ask members, all in favor of that motion to receive? Thank you, it's carried. And next member is we've had this before, but nonetheless, a little more clarity hopefully this evening for members, is the 2019 Annual Wastewater Report from the Ontario Clean Water Agency, AQUA, for information purposes. So we'll get the motion on the table, please. Mover, thank you, Mr. Helpney, and a seconder, Mr. Foster. And members will recall, I think it was quite a few meetings back, there were some pages that didn't get printed completely, and as you can see at the bottom of the first page, it's the report is prepared to satisfy the annual reporting requirement under provincial legislation. It's a particular regulation and Schedule 22. Do members have any questions? As I say, it's for information purposes for us, and again, it's showing that AQUA is doing the due diligence in terms of the annual reporting requirement under provincial legislation to the province. If there aren't any questions, I'll call the motion on the table. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. And next, members, is the motion regarding the September the 2nd Police Service Board meeting for information purposes. So a mover and a seconder for that, please. Thank you. Moved by Mr. Foster, and a seconder would be, thank you, Mr. Cameron. Be it hereby resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Village of Marrickville-Wolford does hereby receive the minutes of the Marrickville-Wolford Police Services Board dated September the 2nd, 2020 for information purposes. Any questions for any members on the minutes? Mr. Cameron.
Mr. Mayor, it's been indicated many times with these reports that we're receiving, we have a problem with speeding. Is there
I'm sorry, problem with, I didn't catch the
problem with speeding?
Yes?
I realize that we're not the governing authority to hand out tickets, but will you be bringing to council on an agenda for a discussion on how, as a municipality, we may be putting some strategies out there to try and slow people down? What we're capable of doing as a municipality. I realize we're limited in some of the actions we can take, but there are actions that we can take. Will we be getting an action item on an agenda in the coming future for a discussion with council, how we can better manage that?
The short answer is typically no. However, I know in the last Police Service Board meeting, which was a week or so ago, some significant circumstances regarding speeding and how the police have handled them. So what I can do certainly is you will see those in the next, I'm not sure when the next meeting is to be approving the minutes, but bring that information forward, and also perhaps I could ask the chair of our board and the detachment commander to sort of outline some of the things that are taking place actively in terms of trying to mitigate people speeding and so on. So that can come forward certainly as at a minimum as an information item, and at that point we see what opportunities might result in that. Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks for the question. If there aren't any other questions, I'll call the motion. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And next, members, we have the minutes of the Library Board meeting of October the 8th. So a mover and a seconder to receive those minutes. Thank you, Mr. Malloy. And a seconder would be, thank you, Mr. Cameron. Be it hereby resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Village of Marrickville-Wolford does hereby receive the Marrickville Public Library Board minutes of October the 8th, 2020 for information purposes. Before I go, if there are any questions from members, anything particular, Mr. Malloy, you want to bring to the Council's attention?
Yeah, please, if you would.
And use your mic if I can ask.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sorry. My goodness gracious.
No, it's a nice thing to do.
I know, I understand. I'm old. I forget these things.
I will
Anyway,
comment
so if
on
you
that.
just take a look at the second page at the bottom, we're talking about the the roofing issues with the library. And I know we sent out notices to, I think, 6 roofers, and you received nothing back from any of them. So that whole project has been put back till next year, and it is something that we should look at. And I'm not sure whether whether Mr. Cole has faced some of the same issues about getting contractors to do work or not, but any aid he can give us in securing contractors to do that roofing project would be greatly appreciated by the library board, because it is something that needs to be done.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Cole, did you have anything you wanted to add to that? And no is an acceptable answer?
Your worship, yes, I could help them to direct them in a path to procure some quotes, for sure.
Good, thank you.
Quotes would be good, but actually doing the job would be better.
If there aren't any other, thank you, Mr. Malloy. If there aren't any other questions, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Thank you, it's carried. Where did my copy go? And we do have a motion now regarding a report from our, oops, sorry. Yep. Thank you. This is a motion regarding a report on the public library building, lease terms, etc. So a mover and a seconder for that motion, please. Thank you, Mr. Foster. Seconded by, thank you, Mr. Helping. Be it hereby resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Village of Mayor Wolford does hereby receive report CAO-10-2020, being a report regarding the Maryville Public Library building lease terms for information purposes. And just a little history reminding members, there's a discussion a number of meetings back in terms of the lease and who looks after the library building. And as my suggestion to council members, and you agreed that we would ask staff to bring back a report outlining the, I guess if you will, a bit of the history and the actual lease that is signed between the municipality and the library. And I'm not sure, Mr. Roberts, if you wanted to speak to anything particular, but it's your report, sir, to council.
I think you covered it, Your Worship. We were just, staff are just responding to council's direction on that.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Any questions from members? Mr. Malloy.
One second. The report is fine, and the points raised are fine in the report. But I think the library board would appreciate if we could get together as council members and the board and just discuss the contract or the lease between the library and the municipality, and sort of straighten out some of the issues that are generated from that lease. I guess in general terms, the board has some difficulties in understanding the money that they have to put out to do repairs to a building that is not theirs. The building belongs to the municipality, yet yet the library board is being forced is too strong a word, but being asked to, it would be a better word, is being asked to do the repairs to the building, roof, siding, etc., even though it's not our asset. It's a municipal asset. And I think we really do need to get together with the board, have a discussion with them, lay out the groundworks, make sure everybody's on the same page with this and how it works, and then move forward for that, so we don't come into these situations again.
Mr. Foster.
So as I understand reading this, the library leases the building for $1 a year?
Correct.
So they get the building essentially free, and the agreement that they signed for a 25-year lease is that they would maintain the building.
Correct.
It seems pretty crystal clear. And with a reserve of $84,051, has that been earmarked for something else?
I'm sorry, could you repeat? I didn't catch.
I was wondering if the reserve, the existing reserve they have, I was asking Councilor Malloy as library liaison, whether they had another purpose for that reserve of $84,000.
Mr. Malloy.
I believe if you check into the reserve more fully, what you find out is that reserve is being manufactured by gifts from citizens of the village as requests from, estates, et cetera, et cetera. The notion that when people give money to the library, it's not to repair a building that the library doesn't own. It's to increase the operations of the library. And those are the facilities that happen inside the building. Not on the outside of the building, but the inside of the building. So programs for the children, programs for the schools, programs for the seniors, programs for ad infinitum. And that's where the money should be going. It shouldn't be going to repairing a building that they don't own. That, in fact, the municipality got at zero cost. Because if you will remember, and if you don't know, I'll educate you. That building was set up and built by the community association, who was an entity in the village for a number of years. Not that long, and then they decided to leave, and as a result that building became vacant. The Lions Club of Merrickville bought the building and gave it to the library for their use. The library then used all of their funds, which was the building fund, to establish the interior so that it fit the requirements of the library, including removing walls, shelving, etc., 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 so that we have a functional library. I would dare say, and I don't think I can be corrected on this, I dare say that it's a fine library for the size of the village we have, both building and both functionality. And so we need to look at it, and we need to view it as a how should we say, a joint effort between council and the library. And I think the library is doing its best to maintain the property, not maintain the property, maintain the programmings that happen there. And I think it's up to the council to maintain the building. And I think that's what they're looking at. They have no problems. They have taken in their budget for this year to repair the east wall and do the work on the roofing that has to be done. But I don't think it's really their responsibility to upgrade building that is owned by the municipality. And it makes no sense to me. As a tenant in many rental properties, I was never expected to pay for the upgrading of a roof on my landlord's building, at least directly. So I'm not sure why we are expecting the library to pay the money to upgrade the roofing, the side walls, etc., for us.
Mr. Foster.
Yeah,
Sorry, I think we can only have so many mics on at a time. Thank you.
So just to follow the money here, so at year end in 2000, So just to follow the money here, at year end in 2009, the library building reserve had a reported balance of $63,987. And you were stating that money was used to make it into a library?
Well, actually, it's true, because the walls have to be, they have to be reconstructed inside, walls have to be removed, shelving had to be bought. That wasn't a functional library when we got it. It was an office building.
So just to follow up on that, so since that time, they've raised another $84,000?
They've been given a total negative $84,000, sure, that's what the number says.
And up until 2019, December 31st, 2019, they changed it in, the library board approved removing in June 13, 2019 to delete the word building from the name of the reserve. So up until that point, it had been a building reserve?
That was, it would have been a building reserve because, as you will remember, the library was in where Stella Loomis is now, in the old municipal offices, and that was a bequest from Miss Pearson that building was given to the municipality as long as it was used for library functions. The municipality piggybacked on the library to run the municipal offices out of that building, and the library had the upper end. So when that came to fruition, the library worked out of there, and it was a compact space to work. And so the building funds there were created to, at one point, the idea was to build an extension on that building to expand the library facilities. In the interim, the Lions Club of Merrickville ended up buying the facility that the library is currently in and giving it to the municipality and to the library for library uses. Then that building where Miss Pearson had given to the municipality was no longer required. I'm not sure what happened to the funds from the sale of that building. I know that the municipality tried to find heirs of Miss Pearson. None were found, and the building was sold. Where those funds went, I don't know, but I know none of it went to the library, even though that was a library building, and the building was given to the municipality to be used as a library facility. But the money was not given to the library per se, so those funds went wherever they went, I'm not sure.
Okay, so.
Yeah, sure.
So is the library interested in renegotiating their lease?
I would believe that's true.
They think they'll get better terms than existing?
I think I think there are issues with the current lease that are problematic. That's all.
So, just so I have this correct, so in a situation where they get, of course, the grant as part of the municipality, financial in-kind services, et cetera, and it's $1 a year to have the building, and they would like to renegotiate the lease.
Those are not the issues they would like to renegotiate, I believe. I can't speak directly for the library board, although I'm a member of the library board, but the president and the CEO of the library would have more specific requirements. But I think the issue there is that when that lease was signed, it was in the, how should we say this, in the joyful news that the Lions had given the library the building, and so we accepted the building, or they accepted the building, and now as the building gets older, there are requirements to maintain the building. Yet we don't have, and I stand to be corrected on this, I don't believe we have the library gets a building fund anymore. So I'll stand corrected on that issue, but I believe that's the case. So the money to repair that building comes directly, if we have to do it. If it doesn't come from the municipality, whose building it is, we have to take the money from the operational side of the library, which is not the purpose of the library.
But they do have a library building reserve account. They have a fund.
Okay, fair enough. But that geez, I hate that building. But that library building is not from the municipality. It's not money from the municipality. It's from donations and wills, et cetera, from people who have given the money to the library. And those funds are, one would say, directly related to the functionality of the library, the books, the programs, the youth elements of the library, and not to repair a building that they don't own. The library does not own that building. That's our asset, that building. And so why are you asking a tenant to do the repairs to your assets?
Because the tenant signed the lease?
Absolutely, we understand that perfectly well, which is why I all of this was, I think the council and the library board need to get together and discuss the issues that are prevalent to this.
Thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Cameron has a question, and then I'll make a comment. So, Mr. Cameron.
Thank you. Tim, do they not realize that if they renegotiated and we rented the space out at commercial rates, we would have to factor in the cost to the municipality for maintenance and upkeep of that building, and that would translate into their rent? So indirectly, they would be paying for the repairs anyway? Right now, they're paying $1.
Well, I think you have to go,
So,
Just wait.
Because if we were to renegotiate this, we would have to renegotiate in terms that is affordable and for the municipality to maintain the building, and it would cost a certain amount of money yearly to maintain that building, so that would be reflected in the rent that we have to charge. So we'd have to charge quite a bit of rent. Thank you.
Briefly, Mr. Malloy, and then I'll try to wrap up the
Sure.
conversation.
I think what you have to recognize, though, Mike, is that running a library is not an option. You either run your own library or you pay money to another municipality. That's provincial regulations. So Montague pays us money towards our library, and that is their how they fulfill their provincial requirements. The library itself was given to the municipality by the Lions Club of Merrickville as a library. Okay, so the cost of running that building has been zero for the last 10 years, give or take. And so now it's come to the point where there are some costs involved with that. So if the municipality wants to reinstate the building fund to the library, so they can take that money and put it into a building reserve and therefore pay for the cost of repairs, I think the library board would be okay with that. But since that's not the situation right now, we have an issue where there are requirements to be requirements for the building that the library board needs to take care of, and that money to meet those funds should not be coming from the operational programs that the library runs. That would be detriment, and that would be a detriment to the children, the teenagers, the adults, the seniors of our community. And that's what the library serves. They serve all those elements of our community. So if you want to take the money from the operations to fix a building that the library doesn't own, fair enough. But remember that money is going to come from the operational side of the library. Therefore, books may not be bought, programs may not be run, whatever else may not happen, because you're taking money from the library board to repair a building that they don't own. We own that building. It's our asset. We should be doing the repairs on it.
Thank you, Mr. Foster.
The only wallet in question here, Councilor Malloy, is the reserve. It all comes out of the municipality's pocket, except for this reserve. You follow me? So let me finish. So the operating, we fund them. We provide the library with a budget. We do a lot of services in kind for the library. All of this comes out of the municipal wallet. So this roof will come out of the municipal wallet as well. Any of these expenses that you're discussing, what's piqued my interest at least is this reserve. And if there was $63,987 in that building reserve in 2009, and now there's $84,051, 84 is all new money. But if there was anything left of that $63,900, that could certainly be applied in good conscience to a building fund, to repairing the building. If that money was left to the library for a building.
Thank you, gentlemen. I think everybody's made their very good points. I'll just draw your members' attention. I know you've read it, but in the lease agreement under item number 4, the library will pay, in addition to the aforementioned rent, which is $1, All monies required to maintain and operate the premises as a library, including but not limited to all hydro, water, sewer, heat, telephone, insurance, maintenance, and repairs, both as a maintenance and capital nature. In its simplest terms, the library will pay all costs, expenses of the land and premises in this lease, and this lease is totally carefree of the corporation. Having said that, Mr. Malloy has referenced some perhaps subjects that might warrant some clarity on and so on.
Discussion, please.
So what I will do on behalf of council, I'll meet with set up a time to meet with the chair of the board and have a preliminary conversation with him, and we'll go from there and see what may or may not need to be what do we present, modified, adjusted, whatever it might be. But I think the positive narrative in all of the conversation this evening is there's no question the library, not just the building, but our library, is a very important asset and service to all of the residents in our municipality, no matter the age, gender, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm seeing a nodding of the heads. We're all on the same, gosh, good word to use, page on that one. So I will do that and come back to council. Short comment, Mr. Cameron.
Yes, if you please. I have no problem with you having a discussion with the library board president, but would it not serve in the best interest of everyone if the library board got together and made a submission to council in writing their expectations of what they would like to see happen? I'm not saying that we renegotiate. If that's what they would like to do, is renegotiate, could certainly have a discussion on it, whether we voted in favor or not. That's besides the point, but I think this has crossed our desk a few times in the last 2 years. We've had a few discussions at the table, but yet we haven't really seen anything in writing from the library board itself, its expectations, and how it would like to see the next few years unfold. So I would encourage you to have a discussion with them, and I would also encourage you to say that, for clarity for council to understand the wants and needs of the library, something in writing for us to discuss would be a welcome, you know what I'm saying.
Absolutely, Mr. Cameron, and in fact, Boyle played it down perhaps in a few words. I certainly will arrange to meet with the chair of the library board and encourage him, whatever if you will, the sum and substance of the conversation, to put it in writing. He may want to have a conversation with his full board and put that in writing to send to council, so we can see some clarity if indeed there is clarity required. So I will endeavor to do that on behalf of all of council. A question, Mr. Malloy? Yep.
I think, again, I think the library board would support Councillor Cameron's statements, and that's what they're actually looking for, is to sit and have a discussion with.
Yeah, it's more than a statement, it's what I'm saying to going to do.
Yeah, okay, well, I'm just saying,
Okay, very good, members. Good conversation, thank you. You've heard the motion, all in favor? That's carried. And thank you, Mr. Robertson. That's a very clear and concise update report for members that we asked for. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Richard, and Kirsten as well, treasurer, to help direct the report.
Great. Next, members, we have a bylaw regarding delegation of powers and duties, as members indicated they wanted a little more clarity on, and so I'm a mover and a seconder for that, please. Moved by Mr. Foster and seconded by, a seconder would be great. Thank you, Mr. Malloy. Be it hereby resolved that bylaw 63-2020, being a bylaw to adopt a delegation of powers and duties policy and to delegate powers and duties, be read a first and second time, and that bylaw 63-2020 be read a third and final time and passed. So I do believe the clarity, if you will, is, and bringing things together is on the last page. A bit of it is housekeeping. And that is the executive professional services agreements. And members, you will recall that's regarding when folks have a need planning comments from the municipalities. I think we've done it with at least 2 entities in the last year in terms of doing one at a time, and we've agreed that we can have this umbrella agreement, if you will, so each one doesn't have to come back to council unless we're an entity would make a deposit up front to offset costs that the municipality may incur with our consulting planners. And I'm just getting a nod from Mr. Robertson. That's correct.
Sorry, Your Worship, I don't want to just give the wrong impression. So typically with a professional service agreement, we do get a deposit from
Yes.
the proponent. Okay,
Yep.
just want to make sure you understand.
Thank you. And then I'll ask you to speak to the second one, which is under the Freedom of Information Protection and Privacy Act.
Thank you, Worship. This is a pre-existing delegation to the CAO from the mayor. And we got advice in reviewing this with Tony Fleming, our lawyer, that it would be wise for housekeeping to merge these 3 items into one bylaw and set the legal parameters around it. He's reviewed the whole bylaw policy for us.
And then the third one is in terms of getting extensions, if you will, on approved agreements. So the example would be we had an approved grant to do the Main Street Revitalization Initiative, which is a village square, and we needed and wanted an extension, and that was an exercise that you went through?
Correct, Your Worship, and this just allows the CAO and treasurer combined to execute it if an existing agreement which council's already approved
Right.
for a grant is being extended.
Great, thank you. Any questions from members? None noted, all in favor? That's carried, thank you. And next we have our confirmatory bylaw, and mover and a seconder for that, please. Thank you, Mr. Malloy. And the seconder would be, thank you, Mr. Foster. Be it hereby resolved that bylaw 62-2020, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular council meeting of November the 23rd, 2020, be read a first and second time, and the bylaw 62-2020 be read a third and final time and passed. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. And next is a motion to adjourn, and mover and a seconder for that, please. Thank you, Mr. Helpney, and a seconder. Thank you, Mr. Cameron. Be it hereby resolved that this regular meeting of the Council of the Corporation of the Village of American Wolford does now adjourn at 7:52 p.m. until the next regular meeting of council on Monday, December the 14th, 2020 at 7 p.m. or until the call of the mayor is subject to need. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you.